Hey, welcome, folks. It's Tuesday. I hope that you've been having a blessed and productive day thus far. I'm Baby Moy, and this is my crew here at the Anti-Hooligans. And as you notice, there are no musical beds. Given the nature of today's show, I thought it was appropriate to not have them playing in the background. On top of that, this will be a documentary-style type of podcast, if you may, as we are going to be covering Owen Hart and his career, and on top of that, we're also going to be talking about the tragic incidents that was his death and events leading up to his unfortunate death during the 1999 May 23rd Over the Edge pay-per-view. Before we get to all that, I just want to remind you guys to please subscribe, thumbs up, hit that bell. That way you're always notified as towards what we at Anti-Hooligans are doing. So remember, for gameplays and more value and entertainment and also informative style type podcast, keep us locked here at ENT Hooligans. So what's going on, guys?
No complaints, man. Just
Nope.
great to see another day, that's for sure.
That's right.
Absolutely. So when we think about Owen Hart, obviously we tie that into the Hart family. And the story of the Hart family is one of very decorative and illustrious. And unfortunately, with that comes along tragedy when we think about both Bret and especially Owen. And what I mean in terms of Bret Hart is, yes, he suffered the loss of not only Owen, but a few other of his brothers. Suffered a stroke. His career was ended short. I don't entirely want to blame it on a miscalculated kick via Bill Goldberg, but you can't hide the truth, and that was a contributing factor towards Bret Hart's career pretty much being X'd out.
Yeah.
So, adding more onto that, his parents pass away. No sooner does Owen pass away. The stroke follows after, and it's just incident after incident after incident. Recently he conquered colon cancer. So Bret Hart, by all means, call him what you want. And yes, I know he's not the best promo person, but what he did in the ring and how professional he was for the majority of his career, it speaks for itself. And when he says that never did he mistreat a wrestler in the ring in terms of trying his best not to injure his opponents, listen, people could say whatever they want about Bret. They could say that he has a big ego. They could say that he's boring. They could say he's this and that. But I've never heard any wrestler say, I was injured by Bret Hart in the ring. And for wrestlers to say that about another individual whom they mixed and matched up with in the ring, that is absolutely phenomenal. So that's obviously, I'm covering Bret here, even though this is a Owen Hart dedicated podcast, because in some ways you can't talk about Owen without talking about Bret, and you can't talk about Bret without talking about Owen. So, and it just coincides with how great and how illustrious the Hart family and their careers have been. So, now we take you to Owen. Owen Hart started wrestling in the 80s, and a lot of people may know him as the Blue Blazer when he first started off in WWE or WWF at the time. And I guess given the magnitude and giving the I don't know how to deem it exactly, but given the ridiculousness, and I don't mean to sound disrespectful, but the Blue Blazer gimmick, to me, maybe for its time it worked, okay? But when you try to intervene, when you try to inject that sort of a gimmick into an era which was the Attitude Era, it didn't really fit the mold. This is an era where you were absolutely intertwining reality with more reality. You know?
Yeah.
And sure, okay, people might look and say, oh, but what about The Undertaker? You know, that's a movie-like character. Yes, but The Undertaker was doing more or less real-life things. And some of those things controversial, such as hanging the Big Boss Man after the Hell in a Cell match at WrestleMania 15, or abducting Stephanie McMahon, so on and so forth. But again, the Blue Blazer didn't fit, at least to me, that sort of environment. But anywho, part of the reasoning behind the Blue Blazer, and part of, even more so, part of having him descend from the rafters or the ceiling or whatever you want to call it, was inspired by what over at WCW Sting was doing with the whole crow gimmick and him descending and all that. So we got to remember, at that time, WWF was very much so in a big, big war with WCW, whom we know now is property of the WWE. So Owen Hart was very much against this idea. First off, Owen Hart disliked the idea of being the Blue Blazer again, and on top of that, he disliked the fact that he was going to be descending from such great heights. Owen Hart did not like heights. Contrary to what people may say, oh, but he did high-risk maneuvers. Yes, high-risk maneuvers. Listen, it's not like you're 50, 60, 70 feet in the air, okay?
Exactly.
You're not that elevated now. You're elevated, but not to such an exaggerated point. So,
Right. There's one thing to do a high-risk maneuver off the ropes. It's another thing entirely to ascend from the roof.
correct. So, we examined the Over the Edge pay-per-view, and it just started off as any other pay-per-view would. You know, you had a Sunday Night Heat before that, which was more or less an hour free-for-all for all of us who wanted to see what led in going into the 8 o'clock hour, which usually started off the pay-per-view. It was pretty much to make people call their cable providers so that they could order the pay-per-view, getting you hyped up and all that. And again, it was just hype, more so behind The Undertaker versus Stone Cold Steve Austin in a First Blood match. No, I'm sorry. It was a special guest referee match with, I believe it was both McMahon and Shane McMahon. And so, obviously, you're never thinking something screwy is going to happen at tonight's pay-per-view. Of course, you're never thinking somebody is going to die. That's the last thing that ever comes to your mind. No matter, and this goes beyond wrestling. This is just any event that you sit down to watch. Yeah. The last thing you're going to think of is somebody is going to pass away.
Right. And whether you're watching the event or you're participating in it, the last thing you're thinking of is that somebody is going to die during this event.
Correct.
And so, till that point, again, you know, I just been done watching a hardcore match, and everything was going fine. Everything was absolutely fine until...
You have to understand, Owen's walking a very thin...
Oh, hold on a second. Sorry about that, guys. Wrong
clip?
Yeah. Hold on. Let me look for this real quick. Okay. So, I want to play this. This is basically when everything started going downhill. Well, everything went downhill from this point. So...
There I was.
This is what happened.
Line here because...
Oh, come on, where are you? Hold on a second, folks. Here we go. Yes, very much so.
The Godfather to defend against the Blue Blazer.
Wink, wink, yeah, we know it's Owen Hart, but he thinks he's a superhero. And if you don't believe us, just listen to this.
The Blue Blazer is back in the WWF because the WWF needs the Blue Blazer back. Why me? Because the WWF needs a superhero like the Blue Blazer. And one last thing in closing, to all my little Blue Blazers, take your vitamins, say your prayers, and drink your milk.
Folks, let's take you now to an interview conducted earlier tonight with Kevin Kelly
Watch this.
and the Blue Blazer, and we got big problems out here.
Well, Blue Blazer.
The Blue Blazer, and we got big problems out here.
Well, Blue Blazer, you got a big match tonight, going after the Intercontinental Championship, taking on the Godfather.
This was him.
Godfather. Just saying his name makes my blue blood boil. Ooh, the Godfather. My arch nemesis. He represents everything that's wrong with the WWF. But fear not, because I, the Blue Blazer, will always triumph over evildoers. And you know why? Because I always take my vitamins, say my prayers, and drink my milk. Woo!
Now, again, keep in mind, Owen Hart was very much against doing this, but yet, honestly, what a team player he was. You know, took that gimmick in spite of and made the best that he could out of it.
Mm-hmm.
Ladies and gentlemen, when you're doing live television, a lot of things can happen, and sometimes they are not good. The Blue Blazer, as we know, as Owen Hart was going to make a very spectacular superhero-like entrance from the rafters, and something went terribly wrong here. Certainly, Owen Hart, Blue Blazer, very serious situation here at this point in time is being attended to by the EMTs. This is not a part of the entertainment here tonight. This is as real can be here. And the EMTs are tending to Owen in the ring now. And we are at a little bit of a loss in this situation. I've been doing this for more years than I would like to admit. And this is it's one of the most shocking things I've ever seen. This is not your typical wrestling storyline. This is a real situation. Owen Hart was to ascend in a superhero-like entrance from the ceiling of this arena, and something terribly, terribly went wrong. I don't know if the harness broke or what the malfunction was, and we are going to keep our cameras on this crowd at this point in time, simply because we are going to move on, ladies and gentlemen, as best we can. Coming up in a few moments, try to get our situation back together. Coming up in a few moments, it will be a very unique matchup.
Now, at this point, obviously, I'm going, what in the world just happened? You know, because again, those who were at the arena were as lost as we were, because it would be so easy to think this is part of a storyline, given how dramatic WWF was at that time. And on top of that, I want to make it known that the audience was never informed, the live crowd was never informed that eventually Owen Hart had passed away.
Assuming that went wrong, unless Owen inadvertently released himself before he was near the ring. So again, we will have our mixed tag team matchup. We will have the rest of this broadcast. But the bigger issue now is that a human being, Owen Hart, has been terribly injured here on this live broadcast. So we will, again, there's been so many things that have happened here, but right now nothing is more important than the health and the welfare of not only a great athlete, but a very unique and a good human being who is now being attended to in the ring. And again, I can only reiterate the best way that I know how, and if I'm not being as articulate as I would like to be, I hope that you can understand that this was not, I repeat, this was not a wrestling angle. This was not part of the storyline. This was a terribly, terribly tragic situation, and the EMTs now are giving Owen Hart external heart massage. There are several folks are there to attend to him, and Jerry Lawler back joining me here. King, I was just reiterating the fans, this is not a part of the show. We're here to entertain and have fun, but this is neither.
No, it doesn't look good at all.
Whew. How
Yeah, it's wow. The unthinkable happens, and you just don't know how to even wrap your head around what happened. Like,
how did I can't help but to think, how did JR keep it together? I'll never understand it.
JR said it best in that clip. This was a human issue. You know, this was no longer about the show. I mean, you know, I know that the old saying is the show must go on.
When Jim Ross was, when I'm trying to get my words together now. When Jim Ross had to announce that Owen Hart had passed away, he was told 30 seconds before the next match was going to take place. How he did this?
Here in Kansas City, tragedy befell the World Wrestling Federation and all of us. Owen Hart was set to make an entrance from the ceiling, and he fell from the ceiling. And I have the unfortunate responsibility to let everyone know that Owen Hart has died. Owen Hart has tragically died from that accident here tonight.
Whew.
Wow, how did he keep that together?
You know, delivering that news is never easy. It's even more so in that circumstance. Like, I couldn't even imagine.
Yeah.
Having to do that.
This is somebody that Jim Ross didn't only announce matches for. This is somebody that JR and a whole bunch of other guys in the locker room and WWF personnel bonded with. You're on the road, you travel together, and away from your family, those group of people become your family.
Mm-hmm.
Again, how Jim Ross kept it together is... There's no words to really describe what, first of all, he might have been going through, what he was thinking, how he was feeling, and on top of all of this, fulfilling his duties and responsibilities as good old JR.
Yeah.
To have to put Jim Ross the back of his mind and to have to be good old JR. And on top of that, to execute it. A lot comes to mind. A lot of questions come to mind. And the number one question is, It isn't should the show have gone on, it's why.
Yeah, because there's no debating that they should have stopped the show right there.
Yeah, they
that
should
should have
have.
been the end right there. There's no debating whether it should or should. It should have been done right there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, as I said before, in most cases the show must go on, but in this case, in cases like this, the hell with the show. The hell with it.
Somebody died. A human being just passed away.
Right in front of everybody. Right in front of a live audience.
And they didn't even know.
So how in the hell could you expect anybody, whether the wrestlers themselves or the audience in the crowd or the audience watching at home, to get back in the mindset of enjoying the rest of the event after what they just witnessed?
And how could you not tell the live crowd what was going on?
Obviously, I would take a guess and assume that...
The fact that the show went on is a complete and utter disgrace.
Obviously, I would assume that the only people who knew what was really going on were those who had front row seating. And yes, the show shouldn't have gone on. It was disgusting that the show went on. And to sit here and say Owen would have wanted it that way, how in the world do you know what Owen Hart would have wanted? He's not here to tell you. He's not here to tell you. Now, for those who are watching this on Spanish commentary, oh Lord Almighty. Now, before I revisit this, I just want to make it clear that Owen Hart was supposed to be shown descending when he was at a certain approximate range towards the ring. The whole entrance wasn't supposed to be shown. So during that, they were playing a video package as the one that you heard. And here's what happened during the Spanish commentary. Oh boy.
Pero parece que no están de acuerdo en ello porque Briscoe dice no digas eso.
Pero Carlos, ¿cuándo es que los dos han estado de acuerdo? Aún en un momento de desgracia del jefe, no saben qué decir.
Y mira, ahora tenemos la lucha por el campeonato intercontinental entre el Padrino y el Blue Blazer.
Oye, ¿y quién es el Blue Blazer?
The Blue Blazer is back in the WWF because the WWF needs the Blue Blazer back.
Y él dice, el Blue Blazer, que aquí hay que traer reformas. ¡Oh, no!
Now, let me rewind. Watch this.
Oh, no!
I don't know if you guys caught that.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
right before
snapping and the thud of him hitting the ground. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we caught that.
Amigos. Algo. Oh, Dios mío.
And that was the general consensus following
Blazer,
that tragic event.
And drink your milk.
that was unbelievable.
And one last thing in closing, to all my little Blue Blazers, take your vitamin.
Oh, no!
See, boom. You hear that? Boom.
Yeah, you heard it.
Oh.
Yeah. There it is, right there. Yeah.
Yep.
You hear the rope snap and you hear the thud.
Mm-hmm.
Algo. Oh, Dios mío.
Well, Blue Blazer, you got a big match tonight, going after the Intercontinental.
Over evildoers. And you know why? Because I always take my vitamins, same.
Amigos, estamos aquí en este momento en vivo. El Blue Blazer tenía que descender desde lo alto con la capa abierta y aparentemente algo no ha funcionado como debía. Se encuentra en ese momento siendo atendido por personal médico.
Yo lo que le pido a Papá Dios, Carlos, en este momento al Señor Jehová, en el nombre de Jesucristo, que no suceda algo trágico aquí, Carlos, porque aunque el espectáculo tiene que continuar, todas las 18,000 personas que están aquí han vivido lo que ustedes no vieron en sus hogares, un momento trágico. El Blue Blazer quería hacer una entrada como un superhéroe, Carlitos, y de momento algo ha sucedido. Estamos muy preocupados. No le podemos mostrar en cámara lo que está pasando porque es algo muy trágico. Entendemos que no va en acuerdo con el espectáculo. Estamos tratando de descifrar lo que pasa aquí. Estamos súper preocupados, Carlos.
Hay personal médico en ese momento aplicando toda la ayuda necesaria a Blue Blazer. Primeros auxilios de resucitación siendo aplicados al Blue Blazer en esos momentos.
My God.
Wow.
That was rough.
That was rough.
Now, Mo, obviously you watched this pay-per-view back then. Take us through what you were feeling at the time.
At first, I was confused. I was thinking, and mind you, I'm 15 at the time, but you know, at that point, I don't understand, but I understand things. You know, this is where I'm really beginning to understand how WWF really worked, how wrestling really worked, and at first I was confused. And when I heard the tone that the audience had set, when I picked up on Jim Ross's tone, okay, this is real. Something wrong, something that wasn't supposed to happen took place here. And hearing afterwards the chilling words and Jim Ross's delivery on that, on Owen Hart is passing away, for the rest of that night, I couldn't get into the rest of the pay-per-view, because in the back of my mind, all I could think of was, oh my God, Owen Hart died, and that's all. That I don't know that pay-per-view for being the pay-per-view in which Shane McMahon fast counted Steve Austin's shoulders onto the mat. I don't know that night for whoever the hell The Rock fought. I don't know that night for anything else but Owen Hart passing away. And it was one of the hardest things. As someone who watches sports and sports entertainment, it was one of the, if not the hardest night to ever sit through. And on top of that, you follow it up with the tribute show that took place on Raw the following night.
I'm willing to bet that everybody who watched that event, whether live at the stadium or on pay-per-view, felt exactly the same way after that happened. They don't. Everything else, the rest of the event was an absolute blur.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even know how they even continued, or why, I should say, as we said before. Why?
Oh man,
like without any chance of processing what just happened. They're just like, okay, let's keep going. Like,
exactly.
Whoa. That's no. That's not the way. No, it shouldn't have been that way. Absolutely not.
No. It's unfair that the show went on.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely unfair. And obviously, after we saw that incident on May 23rd, and after, you know, they had the dedication show on Raw the following night, scrutiny followed. News outlets picked this up, obviously. And there was even a court case, as we all could probably foreshadow. And this is a piece of a documentary. It's a pretty long clip here, but there's very important information here, and it talks about Owen's demeanor leading into this event. Owen's widow gives her piece, and there's a very, very controversial McMahon piece here too. So bear with me.
You have to understand, Owen's walking a very thin line here because his contract states, like, you do what the promoter says or else they're going to fire you.
Sting was one of WCW's biggest draws, and so he was another target for the Blue Blazers storyline.
And his big trademark was coming from the ceiling, so it was to spoof how fake and how out of touch coming from the ceiling really was.
To further deride the WCW, McMahon asked Owen to do a Sting-like stunt. He was to come down a cable, superhero style, but end up playing the fool. Owen didn't like heights, but he reluctantly agreed.
And he said, you know, they want me to do this stunt, and I'm kind of don't feel right about doing it. And I said, well, don't do it then. And he's like, well, you know, I have to do it. Like, I can't get out of it now.
So already he's feeling compromised, and you heard.
Mm-hmm.
You oblige to our demands, or you get pink slipped.
Supposed to land in the ring and get unleashed and actually walk forward and trip and fall down. That was kind of like, this whole thing was done for that moment.
A couple of days before Owen was to leave for Kansas City, the family made a visit to their new home. They were 1 week away from moving in. Then it was time for Owen to leave.
He was in such a rush. And I never wanted to kind of get in the way. Like, he was hurrying, he had his bags, he was trying to get his boots on and get the car keys and get Oj in the car. And so I said goodbye to him. I just remember he was down, he was putting his shoes on, and he was bent over, and I just kind of like hugged him quick, and I kissed him on the cheek really quick just so I wouldn't get in his way. And
now, mind you, he's in a hurry. And what she's about to say next pretty much summarizes how gentle and how generous and how caring in nature Owen Hart was.
He grabbed me by the arm, and he pulled me in, and he gave me a kiss right on the mouth. And I thought, you know, it was so nice that he did. And I thought, geez, like, that was nice, because I know you're in such a hurry. And it was like the last kiss that he ever gave me.
So in her mind, she's thinking, he's in a hurry. He didn't have to do that. It's so sad.
Owen arrived in Kansas City and drove his rental car to Kemper Arena. He got there early so he'd have lots of time to prepare for the show, a pay-per-view billed as Over the Edge.
What an appropriate name.
5 hours before the show was to start, Owen climbed up to the catwalk for the first time. He was shown the rigging device and the quick-release cord. It would take less than 9 pounds of pressure to snap Owen out of his safety harness. Less pressure than it takes to pull the trigger of a gun. Owen practiced the stunt once and then went backstage to get dressed.
Can you repeat that quick sound quite real quick?
It takes to pull the trigger of a gun. Owen out of his safety harness cord. It would take less than 9 pounds of pressure to snap Owen out of his safety harness. Less pressure than it takes to pull the trigger of a gun. Owen practiced the stunt once and then went backstage to get dressed.
I'll let you elaborate on that if you want.
My friend, that is a sign of that was a sign right there. That was an ultimate sign of things to come right there. It takes less pressure than it does to pull the trigger of a gun to snap that harness. This is what they wanted him to do.
An hour before the show.
He had no other choice.
Exactly. Unfortunately, he felt obligated. It's sad.
Bumped into Hardy Race.
I saw Owen coming down the ramp, and I went over and was chatting with him back and forth. And Owen was telling me that he had a new rigging, and he wasn't really comfortable with it, but he was going to do it.
I have personally seen the harness and the hook device, which...
Watch this.
...was to... I have
really comfortable with it, but he was going to do it.
Quick question. Who is that woman?
You'll see.
I have personally seen the harness and the hook device, which was to have suspended him 80 feet high above Kemper Arena. It is a contraption which we allege in our lawsuit was grossly inadequate and ill-suited to hold a 230-pound man such as Owen Hart.
This is a stunt that's performed on a routine basis in any number of venues. Owen was simply to descend into the ring in superhero-like fashion.
Why was he not on a belay line or some other backup line, which is normally used for anybody that's using a rigging? There would be a safeguard that someone would control.
I'm not an expert on rigging. I guess you are.
Well, it would appear that there were no precautionary measures taken. Why not?
First of all, I resent your tone.
I resent sarcasm. Again,
no, I resent your tone, lady, okay?
Why
this was a tragic accident. It's a tragic accident. Don't try and put yourself in the spotlight here, okay? This was an accident. Do you understand what I'm saying? An accident. And everything that should have taken place in terms of rigging, to our knowledge at this moment, did take place. It was rehearsed in the afternoon, and everything was fine. And that's all I know.
Mr. McMahon, is it true then that Owen did practice 3 or 4 times during the afternoon and everything was set and he felt comfortable with it prior to the actual occurrence?
As far as I know, everything was fine during the afternoon. A number of rehearsals took place.
Owen was told to take his place on the catwalk.
Before I continue, that's Vince for you.
A number of times? It was only practiced once. And he didn't like the tone of the report. What? She was asking a question, and it's a question that everybody really doesn't know still to this day the answer to.
Lady, I resent
your tone, and you're stealing the spotlight, or you're trying to.
Really?
And it was an accident. He says it over and over and over, trying to convince people. It sounds like he was trying to convince himself, even.
On a routine.
Was grossly inadequate.
I want to revisit that.
And ill-suited.
News. Owen was simply to descend into the ring in superhero-like fashion.
Why was he not on a belay line or some other backup line, which is normally used for anybody that's using a rigging? There would be a safeguard.
And this is where it starts.
That someone would control.
I'm not an expert on rigging. I guess you are.
Really?
Well, it would appear that there were no precautionary measures taken. Why not?
First of all, I resent your tone.
I resent sarcasm. Again,
no, I resent your tone, lady, okay? This was a tragic accident. It's a tragic accident. Don't try and put yourself in the spotlight here, okay?
Really?
Did that sound like somebody who was being sarcastic when she was asking the question?
No, she was asking a legitimate question. She was not trying to put herself in the spotlight. She was asking a legitimate question. Why wasn't there precautionary measures taken?
Correct. And Vince says it was a tragic accident twice.
That wasn't the damn question, Vince.
Yeah.
That was not the damn
that wasn't
question,
even the
Vince.
Flipping question, for God's sakes.
No, and like
that guy even pissed me off, for God's sake.
I mean,
Sorry.
it sounds like he was convincing himself.
He sounds like he didn't care. Honestly, I could hear it in his voice, and it's like just trying to dismiss it.
The lack of awareness.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's like it's not a big deal, you know. That's what it sounds like to me. I'm like, and that's really angered me. I'm like, seriously, dude,
we just heard
probably killed somebody.
We just heard the other woman in that clip mention how what they were using was not adequate enough
only 9
to
pounds.
hold a 230-pound man.
Correct.
Yeah. Wow. That's crazy.
A number of overalls, his mask, got into the nylon vest, and was connected to the rigging device. Then he was swung out and suspended high above the crowd, awaiting the cue to descend.
He must have been scared. Absolutely terrified.
Suspended 75 feet above the crowd, something caused the quick release to open, and Owen fell.
As the lights came on, we seen him hit the ropes until we landed on the ground, and he was laid there.
He lifted his head off the canvas just ever so slightly, just a couple inches, and his arms, he kind of looked like a guy that had just done 100 sit-ups and was trying to do number 101 and couldn't quite do it. And his head fell back on the canvas, and I looked at my friend and said, this is messed up, something's wrong. And some people started chanting, Owen, Owen, Owen. And I think everyone was looking for that customary thumbs-up signal that the football players sometimes give when they're hurt and they're being carried off the field, but it never came from him.
One of the guys who worked on him was a friend of mine, and he told me almost immediately afterwards that Owen wasn't going to make it. All Owen's friends are crying, and it's just you never thought, I never dreamed something like that could happen in wrestling.
The phone rang. I was sitting in my front chair, and I was looking at my house that I was just packing up, and it was this doctor from the hospital, and I just felt this doom sweep over me, and he said, Mrs. Hart, there's been an accident. Owen fell and hit his head on the turnbuckle, and he was going through like all this stuff, and it was like, and I said, just get to the end of it. I said, what's the end result? Like, don't give me the whole buffer thing. Like, what happened? And he said, normally we'd fly you down here to tell you this kind of news, but your husband has died. I just melted into that chair. Like, I just couldn't believe it.
Didn't know what to do. Didn't know. I kept thinking that it was such a crummy ending for him, for my family.
The Harts already knew something was wrong. They were waiting anxiously for more information, and when the phone finally rang, Helen answered.
I said, Helen, I don't know how to tell you this. I really don't. Like, this is the hardest thing I've ever had to do in my life. But I am so sorry to tell you that your son has died. And I can't believe that it's true, but it is.
They didn't even have the decency to fly her out there in person.
Nope. They
gave her a freaking phone call. You got to be kidding me.
And they didn't even have the decency to call his mom. His wife had to do it.
I mean, she's already going through the pain of and
losing her husband.
And mind you, this is this is all recent. This is all the same night. She has to endure dealing with herself, dealing with her pain, dealing with her loss, and she has to. And on top of and added to that, you have to
break the news to her mother-in-law that her son has died.
Adding on to that, it's a night completely gone wrong, bro. Guys,
that's an understatement. Yeah, this thing just went south really quickly.
And Vince is okay with that, even after all these years.
And mind you, he was 75 feet in the air
off the
when the rope snapped. 75 feet.
Owen even said he didn't want to do it.
Owen was afraid of heights. On top of that, he was afraid of heights.
But because Vince said the word "go,"
but in Vince's mind, this was a routine thing that they did. I'm sorry.
Why wasn't there any backup?
When is this routine? What is routine about this?
And why wasn't there backup?
Well, again, like I said, because Sting did it, he had the magnificent idea of, hey, let's follow it. Now, here's where it's a little bit funny, and I don't mean haha funny.
Just poorly executed.
Here's the thing.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. This is 2 years or a year and a half after the incident which took place with Bret Hart and that whole screw job incident.
Oh, what Shawn Michaels? Oh, in Canada, yeah, the screw job in Canada.
Yeah, the screw job. Yeah.
With Shawn and McMahon, which had a lot of people thinking, was this purposely done to get back at Bret?
Wow, I had no idea. Wait a minute. Oh, so the screw job happened first.
Yes.
Oh,
because that happened in '97, right?
Yes.
Was it? No, yeah.
Yeah, November of '97.
Jeez.
Now, mind you, Bret was already gone and in WCW at this point, and Bret Hart feels that, damn it, I should have been there. I should have still been employed. I would have taken care of my little brother like I always have. You imagine that? You imagine feeling that way?
God.
Even though your hands aren't dirty at all from this accident, you feeling as if though you are to blame.
I feel like you could have done. Yeah. You're taking responsibility for something that you really had no control over. But that's a sucky feeling.
Can you blame Bret for feeling that way though?
No, not at all.
Of course not.
Especially considering how he left WWF at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
You can't really blame him for feeling that way.
Wow, man, that's horrible.
Wow.
Here's Val Venus's account.
Behind gorilla position, and I was warming up. I'm doing my Hindu squats and my push-ups and just trying to get loose and limber. And across from me was Bruce Pritchard, and I remember Bruce Pritchard jumped up and started yelling, EMTs, EMTs, someone just fell from the rafters, not knowing who it was at the point. I went, what? Who the heck's climbing up in the rafters? And so the EMTs come down, and then it was, what? Who the heck's climbing up in the rafters? And so the EMTs come down, and then it was probably, I'm going to guess, maybe a minute later, they're saying, it's Owen, it's Owen, it's Owen. All at the gorilla table there.
Does that give you the impression that perhaps Val didn't know? Or because he was like, who the hell is up in the rafters? I take that, and I'm asking myself, wait a minute, you're in a program with him, they didn't give you heads up on this?
Exactly.
That's the impression I got from that. I'm like, wait a minute.
I got that too. He didn't know that?
Yeah, same here. It's like, what on earth?
Exactly.
Wow.
Unbelievable.
And
the other wrestlers didn't know about this happening.
Just felt
correct.
From the rafters, what the heck? And so at the time, Jeff was further on backstage doing a pre-tape that was going to air right before we go out. So I remember Jeff didn't know exactly what had happened. When he found out that it was Owen Hart that fell, he was thinking, oh, he just fell. Maybe he just, I don't know, maybe tweaked something, or he can't stand up or something or whatever. He didn't really think anything bad was happening yet. At that same time, I remember the gurney coming back through the curtain right past me, and the guys on top of the gurney, as 4 other guys are pushing him, and the guys doing the heart compressions. And I remember Owen's eyes were wide open, and I could tell as soon as he went by there was nobody home. It was the weirdest feeling ever. Like I saw his eyes, and I was like, oh, and I looked at him. I was about to say Owen. And as soon as he went by, I could see in his eyes, they were just wide open, and you could just tell, looking into his eyes, that he wasn't there. And so I kind of freaked out a little bit, and then, of course, there's my music playing, and I go walking down, and I look up, freaked out a little bit, and then, of course, there's my music playing, and I go walking down, and I look up from the middle of the ring to see how high that was, and I was like, yeah, there's no way you survived that.
He just saw that. He just saw Owen passing through, and with that, his music is playing. So I saw one of my friends literally dying in front of my eyes, and I got to go out there and perform.
It was so high, and so at that point in time, I had to sit there and start taking deep breaths while Jeff Jarrett was walking down the ring, who still didn't know exactly what had happened to Owen, because he hadn't seen him yet. And, he was busy doing the pre-tapes when it happened. And I remember he got into the ring, and we went into the match, and, it was still, it was hard to work that match, because I just kept thinking about how high that was up there, and seeing Owen's eyes. I couldn't get that out of my head. And then when we got backstage, that's when we found out that he had passed away. And I remember Jeff he broke down. He literally just broke right down.
Were you told, was there any doubt before you go to the ring that you'd be going out to work? Are you told by anyone, let's get back into the show here,
No, I was, when I saw him go by, it wasn't like everyone else in the company saw him go by. I mean, he was covered by medics with a guy on top of him. And as soon as I saw him go by, I was pretty much the only one at that point in time that knew he was gone.
Okay.
And then I heard my music playing. I went out to the ring, and at that point I was so lost, that it was a difficult time. It was a difficult match to work, Jeff actually, he took his time out there, and it made it a lot easier for me to work out there. Thank God Jeff didn't know that he had passed on at that point.
Unbelievable.
Could you guys believe this? Again, making them wrestle.
Wow.
After something like this takes place. And who are they to say no? Mm-hmm. Because if they say no, that's your job.
They'll get fired.
Oh, wow. Oh, jeez.
It goes back to that Owen that piece that I played off the documentary. Owen had to pull through in his responsibilities in terms of the Blue Blazer gimmick. Something that he was not willing to be recipient of. Something that he clearly was against, something that he didn't want to do.
Yep.
Wow.
But again, he felt obligated to do it because it was his job.
Exactly.
Wow.
Now here's one that gets me. Watch this.
Owen Hart.
Now, this is the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase.
Owen Hart wasn't a minister. But Owen Hart was a guy that loved his family. Owen Hart was a guy who loved his children and his wife. Owen Hart was a guy who said to Vince McMahon and the World Wrestling Federation, no, I'm not going to be part of an angle that is telling the people at home that I'm having an affair with another woman. I'm not going to be part of an angle that is telling the people at home that I'm having an affair with another woman. Because I don't want to have to try to explain that to my young children when they come home. I don't want to expose my kids to that anymore. That's not what wrestling is about. Wrestling is about the battle between good and evil, between two guys in a ring. Wrestling is about the battle between good and evil, between two guys in a ring. Between a physical battle, a contest, not a lovesick soap opera. That's why Owen Hart said no. And as a result of saying no, and as a way of slapping his wrists, the WWF made him the Blue Blazer again, which I remember when Owen Hart came to the WWF, and he hated it then, and they knew that he hated it. And because they knew he hated it, it was like, well, you're not going to do what we want, so we'll show you who's boss. And they made him the Blue Blazer again. And as a result of making him the Blue Blazer boss, he hated it. It was like, well, you're not going to do what we want, so we'll show you who's boss. And they made him the Blue Blazer again. And as a result of making him the Blue Blazer, they come up with that idea to drop him out of the ceiling, which is something else he didn't want to do, that he wasn't comfortable doing, that he felt forced to do. And as a result of that, he's dead today. You know, was it done intentionally? Absolutely not. It was an accident. It was a tragic accident. But it's a tragic accident that never should have happened. But back to my point, take the fact that I am a minister of the gospel out of it. Wrestling has always been about good versus evil. It's not today. It is not the same business anymore.
Ain't that the truth?
And the
Come again, Ness? You're cutting out, buddy.
That's that's Vince McMahon. There you go.
Again, this concept of you didn't want to meet the demands of the storyline that we wanted to involve you in, so this is your punishment.
You guys remember? In a promo he cut later in a few years, like 10 years ago.
Nobody says no to me. I'm Vince McMahon, damn it.
Yeah.
That's so true.
That wasn't a gimmick. That was real.
Right.
That was not a gimmick. That is real. That is really who Vince McMahon is. An authoritarian.
That's sad. It's unfortunate, and
it is.
It's unfair that it had to take the life of Owen. And you know, oftentimes when we hear of wrestlers passing away, it's due to drug-related issues, or it's due to natural causes.
Natural causes, yeah. Mm-hmm.
This wasn't either.
As Ted DiBiase said in that clip, this was an accident that shouldn't have happened in the first place.
Right.
All this taken into thought, should Owen Hart's legacy be celebrated? And what I mean by that is, should there be a DVD documenting the life and times of the good times of Owen Hart?
Yes.
Should he be, in spite of what you want to think of what people want to think of the Hall of Fame in terms of WWFs or E's, should he be inducted in that?
Absolutely.
Yeah, he should be.
Which brings me to the next question. Should Martha Hart, should she play a role in this situation, a role that of, I want Owen to have very minimum involvement in WWE, in what WWE decides to show in terms of Owen Hart content, which also means restraining him from a shot at the Hall of Fame, which means nullifying his DVD release.
Should she play a minimal role? Is that what you're saying?
No. She should play a role in trying to maximize all of this and eradicating.
Absolutely. Listen, if anybody, they should definitely, not just her, but the Hart family, the entire Hart family, Brett.
But here's the thing. See, it's one of these situations where
it's a tough situation.
You can side with what Martha Hart is saying, but at the same time, you could side with what other people are saying, and when they say, "Yeah, but Owen Hart, his wrestling career, what he did for wrestling in wrestling, should be celebrated, should be talked about."
It should be, yes.
And that's where Brett is coming from. You know, Brett feels as if though, yes, it was a crappy way for his life to have ended, but we shouldn't take away the opportunity for people to see who Owen Hart was.
Yes.
That's where Brett is coming from.
Exactly.
You know, I understand Martha Hart's resentment. I understand where she's coming from as well, but this is
it's a difficult situation all
this
around.
Is Brett's take on the thing.
It's a poorly done DVD because of all the restraints and the limitations that Martha put on it, and to me that's such a lousy thing to have happen. That Martha, I think Owen would turn in his grave if he knew how much trouble Martha's gone to erase his career and to make sure that nobody enjoys anything about his career today. It's a bitterness and selfishness that I can't stand by anymore. I think Martha's taken the wrong approach, and she should understand that, you know, we all miss Owen. I lost a brother, I lost a great friend, and maybe one of my closest people that I knew on this earth. And I want to celebrate his career. I want to watch his matches back, not just with me, but with everybody he worked with. And his time with WWE, they got so much footage and so many great memories with Owen. And here she is standing in the way of that and saying nobody can see these videos, no one should see anything that's, you know, it brings back any of his career.
So WWE footage, they can't use his matches in the WWE?
They can do select things, but they couldn't use any pictures from his childhood. They couldn't use any pictures. They couldn't use anything from Stampede Wrestling. They couldn't. They had so many restraints. Even the interviews, the questions that they did with me were so bullshit. And the whole thing was so bullshit that, sure, there's an Owen Hart DVD, but it's the shits. You know, it's not the real DVD. It's not like the best there is, best there was, the best there ever will be DVD that I did that captured so many of my great matches, or as many as I could, and I had a hands-on sort of involvement in it, and it was a great project. And I was, at that time, it was a big door to be opened. I was so glad to bring my career back and let people see what I was so proud of and what I fought for that day in, say, Montreal, and what I lost. And so when they allowed me to do that DVD, I wanted to be the best DVD that there ever was. And I think Owen's DVD, I think WWE maybe had good intentions, but I'm not very impressed with the quality that it's going to be. I haven't seen it. I'm optimistic. No, I'm not optimistic, but I'm hoping that it'll be better than I think. But I could tell by the questions that they asked me and the interview that they did with me that it was a very short version of, and a very carefully worded questions with bullshit answers. And I'm not really gonna hold out hope that it's gonna be as great as it should be. And I feel bad because that's Martha's fault.
Do you know if there was ever, it was reached out, the idea of we're going to sell this DVD, we're going to donate proceeds to the Owen Hart Foundation, anything like that? Because I think many people are sympathetic to Martha losing her husband here, and there is certainly a fan base that wants to see this.
I don't think there was ever an issue. I'm sure that the royalties would go to Martha anyway, but she wouldn't have any part of it, of anything. It's funny, Martha got the $18 million settlement, and has now gone to school in Oxford, England, or somewhere, and has got a degree in psychology. But she should analyze her own self and ask herself why she's so cold-hearted and selfish to want to lock up all the great memories that my brother Owen has that are locked up in warehouses and studios in WWE in Connecticut that they're not allowed to use, or they're not using because they're trying to respect her wishes, which is absolute bullshit.
There you go.
I agree completely.
I can't say I could disagree with Brett on this one.
I mean, it sucks. She lost her husband. I completely get that. But what about his career? I mean, nobody wants to remember Owen as he was the one who died on a pay-per-view.
Yes.
And he's right. Brett's right. She should examine her own self. You know, she really should, because that's not fair. It's not fair to Brett. It's not fair to Owen's fans. And it's not fair to Owen's career. All that hard work that he put in. For what? Just to be remembered as the guy who died on a pay-per-view?
Those are really good
How
points.
fair is that?
Those are really good points. Owen Hart's memory should, for sure, surpass that night. Owen Hart's memory should be that of when he was feuding with Brett. Owen Hart's memory should be that funny promo where he accidentally botched and said, you know, I kicked your leg out of your leg. Owen Hart's memory should be in him winning King of the Ring. In him becoming one-time WWF champion.
I think she's extremely bitter.
When were they working? When were they working on this DVD?
It was a couple of years back.
Ah, okay.
And the DVD never released.
I think that she's extremely bitter and she's extremely cold-hearted, so therefore she's putting it on the rest of the world. You know, maybe that's how she handles what's happened, is she's going to make everybody else miserable.
I'm going to say this.
Carrying that weight around. It's a difficult situation, to say the least.
It is. It's very difficult.
I'm going to say this. Brett, his brother, Brett, who endured the crappy environment that was the WWF. Brett, who endured not having the most graceful of exits in terms of his career in WWF, venturing off to WCW. Who endured possibly, you know, having, and not even possibly, just having this resentment towards Vince McMahon and Shawn Michaels and the WWF.
Yeah.
Endured all that. Blamed Vince. Blamed WWF personnel. And could have very easily had hate in his heart towards certain peoples. Who I wouldn't doubt pointed the finger and said, "You're the one that killed my brother." That same Brett is the same Brett who accepted being inducted into WWE's Hall of Fame. That same Brett who's accepted making appearances here and there for WWE pay-per-views or Monday night or Tuesday night shows.
Yep.
The same Brett who has let it go.
Yeah. You know?
His
maybe
brother.
He's doing it for
his brother. Let that sink in. I understand, yeah, but that's his wife. Yeah, but that's his brother.
But that's his brother.
His brother did it.
And maybe he's doing it for his brother. Because maybe he knew in his heart his brother wouldn't want it that way.
By all purposes, definitely, I definitely give Bret Hart his respect points on that regard. Because, say what you want about him, he deserves it. And, again, you can call him selfish all you want. But he really does want his brother's name to live on. He wants his career to be celebrated. And you could tell he does. So is Bret really selfish?
No.
Or is he pleading for a very good cause here?
That he's definitely doing. He's definitely pleading for a good cause.
I don't think that she should be as selfish as she's acting. I mean, on the one hand, I could somewhat understand where she's coming from, but at the same time, you gotta let that go. You can't live with this resentment. How could you live with yourself? And what are you really saying of Owen Hart's career when you want to eradicate it?
It didn't mean anything. That's what I got from it. It was just a way for him to make money.
Come again, Ness?
For those of us who didn't get a chance to watch Owen wrestle, right now, that's all we remember.
And that's sad.
It truly is.
It is.
Because there's so many memories. You know, him being in Nation of Domination, as weird as it sounds, but Owen Hart was...
What?
The type of person that just made things work. He had the wrestling ability. He was a high flyer. He was technical. He could talk. He had it all.
He was in Nation of Domination?
Yes. He had it all.
Wow.
Man, that's just...
And you know what? Let me tell you guys something about Owen. Yes, he won the title once, but you know what he said? I don't really want to be WWF champion. He just wanted to wrestle. Well, what's that tell you, man?
He loved wrestling.
And I think it's so cool how he was a minister.
Yeah, go figure.
That is so awesome.
That is awesome, yeah.
And she's not playing the role of a minister's wife.
No, she isn't.
Minister's wife wouldn't act like that.
You know, it's been almost 20 years. And this resentment that she's carrying around, it's eating her alive inside.
And she's a psychologist.
Oh, the irony, right? She got a degree in psychology.
Yeah. Yeah, she got a degree in psychology, and she's up in England somewhere.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Owen, what I have to say is, whoa, easy with that.
Sorry.
Whoa.
Sorry, Mike. Hold on.
What I have to say is, I really do thank him for all those memories. You know, rather I cheered him or I booed him, as much as I was behind Bret Hart in their feud, he made a story out of it. And he took anything that WWF could throw at him in terms of, this is the gimmick that we want you to play. He ran with it and made the best of it. A lot of people talk about how funny he was. A lot of people talk about the pranks that he pulled. You know, a lot of people remember Owen for being such a funny guy. You know, and I like hearing those stories. Go ahead. Somebody gonna say something?
No,
or
no.
Was somebody
go
gonna say something?
No.
No.
Okay. So,
I always heard a story, I think it was before I came in the company, and everybody knew, and we'll cover this in more detail next time you're on the show, but Owen used to pull ribs on everybody, and he kept the whole crew laughing, whether you were in the ring, and he could also have a great match in the ring. But when it was time for a little bit of ha-ha, he was that guy. And through the airports, on the road, everybody laughed with Owen. But one time, I guess it was like a battle royal situation. You guys are overseas. I want to say it was India. And somehow Owen snuck a bunch of tuna fish into the ring. And while you were on the mat, stuck the tuna fish in your mouth and had you in a camel clutch. Is that a true story?
Yeah, I think that is a true story.
What happened?
I can't remember. I think it was a little more subtle than that. I can't remember, but it doesn't. For some reason, I'm thinking it was true.
Well, okay, so what was the best rib Owen played that you saw?
Well, I think the best one was the one with, for me anyway, was the one with my dad and Reg Park. You know,
what happened? Reg Park used to wrestle. He was one of the first guys to make championship wrestling belts. Give a little history on Reg Park.
Yeah, years and really nice ones.
Yes,
really nice.
He was a standard.
He was a bodybuilder. Had a really good body. He had a really good physique and was a fairly respected bodybuilder before he got into wrestling. And always took good care of his body. Always was a good athlete and stuff like that. Pretty mild, kind of timid guy, but not a shooter or anything like that. And Owen could disguise his voice just because if you met Reg, and Owen only met him a couple of times, they went through Phoenix and stuff like that. He used to live in Phoenix.
Yeah.
Stu knew him and loved him, and every once in a while he'd come up and visit Calgary because Phoenix is kind of Calgary are sort of twins or whatever. And they, Reg would come up all the time and say hi at different times of the year and, pass him through. And so we kind of knew him, a little bit, knew that he worked for my dad and knew who he was. And I remember WrestleMania 4, I think, in New Jersey or something. I brought my dad down, and he was in a big suite with me and one of my kids in a room, and he had a big long nightshirt on. He was having a great time. He was with his first WrestleMania, and he was meeting different guys and wrestlers, and Owen decided to call him. It was first thing in the morning, and we were just getting up and having breakfast and stuff like that, and my dad's in his nightshirt, and Owen decides that he's going to call my dad up from the lobby of the hotel and pretend he's Reg Park, and he calls up, and I answer the phone because it was my room, and he fooled me. I said, "Who is this?" And he goes, "It's Reg Park. Can we talk to your father?" or something like that. And he disguised. He did sound just like Reg Park. Yeah. I handed the phone to my dad. I go, "It's Reg Park." And my dad gets on. It's like "How the hell are you, Reg?" And Reg, how you? They're laughing, and Owen's kind of playing along with it. And they're having a couple of good chatting away, just like the real Reg would. And then all of a sudden, Owen just turns on my dad and goes, "Stu, you never had the balls to try me," or something. That was what it was. You never had the balls to try me. And I kept saying it to Stu and calling Stu out on the phone and calling him that he wanted Stu to fight him in the lobby of the hotel. I just remember seeing my dad's face while he was holding the phone. First it was like, "How the hell are you, Reg?" and all that. And a minute later it's, "Reg, if you'd wanted to try me, why didn't you try me?" And I remember he got so worked up. I remember Owen kept taking it further and further and further until it got hysterical and he couldn't take it anymore. And my dad kept getting more and more wound up until I was actually like thinking I might have to step in and take the phone from him. And all of a sudden, my dad, I remember he slammed the phone down and sat on the bed in his nightshirt. I remember he was just shaking his head, and he looked at me. He goes, "That lousy Owen, he got me." And Owen finally just asked me, "Owen, I'm pulling your leg." And it was, it really was the funniest I think that he ever did. He got my dad big time.
Oh, Lord. Wow, and that's how a lot of people remember Owen.
Wow.
That's how a lot of people remember him, and good for him,
Yeah.
Owen deserves that. I mean, come on.
He deserves to be remembered in that way.
Absolutely.
That's for sure. He does not deserve to be remembered as, oh, I know who that was. He was the guy who died on that pay-per-view.
Mm-hmm.
He deserves to be remembered as,
Owen was a character.
Regarded as a great guy.
Oh, he was awesome. Owen was one of the best guys in the locker room. He was always funny. He was always ribbing. And good ribs, too. They weren't nasty.
This is Val Venus.
Like some guys would pull. But there was one time we flew into St. Louis early in the morning. And so we were going to stay at the Marriott right across the street. And our plan was, because we had to get up really early to catch this early morning flight there, I was going to get into Marriott, check in, get some sleep, wake up around noon, go to the gym, and then hit the arena. And when I walked into the lobby of the Marriott, it's packed with fans, and there's a lineup of the boys waiting to check in. So I'm waiting in line, and kids are coming up to me saying, "Hey, can you sign this?" I said, "Yeah, I'll sign that, I'll sign this," while I'm waiting in line. And this one guy with long, dark, greasy hair comes up to me with a stack of Val Venus pictures about that big and says, "Hey, brother, can you sign these for me?" And I said, "I'm not signing those pictures for you." I mean, obviously he's got a stack of them. He wants to sell them, right? And so I keep signing for these kids, and I don't know what happened to the guy. He walked away. And finally I get up to the front, I check in, I go up to my room, and just as I'm starting to fall asleep, I just feel myself starting to fall asleep, and bring, the phone rings. So I pick up the phone. And I go, "Hello." And there's a voice on the other end that says, "Hey, man, you promised me you'd come down and sign these stack of pictures. You better come down here and sign and keep your promises." And I went, "Whoa, what?" I said, "I didn't promise you anything." I said, "I'm not signing your damn pictures." And I said, "I don't appreciate you calling my room." Boom, hung up the phone. Just as I go to lay back down in bed, bring, it rings again. So I pick up the phone, and just as I put it to my ear, he goes, "I'm a big man. You won't get by me. You better come down here and sign these pictures." So I go, "Stay right there." And I go, bang, I throw my clothes back on. I didn't even wait for the elevator. I just went down the stairs as fast as I could. And I ran to the lobby, and at this point, the lobby's completely emptied. All the boys are checked in. The fans are gone. And the bar's there, but the bar's closed. But there's two stools from the bar that both Jeff Jarrett and Owen Hart are sitting on. And I come running down, and I'm looking for the guy with the long, greasy, scraggly hair. And I'm looking around, and I said, "Hey, Jeff, Owen, did you guys see a guy with long, scraggly, dark hair with a stack of pictures?" He goes, "I saw a guy with greasy, long hair run out the front door." So I'm running out the front door, and I'm looking for this guy. I can't find him anywhere. So anyways, it took me about an hour and a half to get back to sleep after that. I go back out to the room. I'm trying to sleep. I'm just so amped up now. And finally, I fall asleep. 6 months later, Edge and I are in Canada doing Off the Record with Michael Landsberg. And right before we're about to go on, Edge turns to me and goes, "Hey, Val, you remember at St. Louis Airport when you wanted to kill that guy that wanted you to sign those stack of pictures?" I went, "Yeah." He goes, "That was Owen. I guess Owen had texted him, 'Hey, tell him now.'"
Unbelievable.
Right before I was going to tape it. I was just like, now we're just getting ready to go on air, and I'm seething. I'm like,
he threw on a wig.
That's Owen.
That's great.
That's Owen.
That is awesome.
And again, you love to hear stories like that, and people remembering Owen for what he should be remembered. Not just his wrestling career, but for how he was as a character, as a personnel, and more importantly, as Owen Hart.
Mm-hmm.
That's what matters. And we seem to have lost Ness.
Oh, no, we didn't.
Oh, there you are.
He's here.
Apparently that dog likes the Owen stories, too.
Yeah, apparently so.
Yeah, he's amped up.
Mm-hmm. He's amped up.
But yes. And there's a lot more stories. I mean, Edge has stories. Mark Henry has stories. A whole bunch of wrestlers have stories on Owen Hart. And everybody always talks about how funny Owen was.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, the crazy thing is, with a lot of wrestlers that have passed on, you don't hear much of that, but you hear a lot of it when it comes to Owen. You hear a lot of what a funny guy he was, what a caring person he was, and you know how Owen, in his nature, he was not known to be someone who was selfish.
Right.
And I think that's a big reason for why Owen was the way that he was. Didn't make it all about him. He cared for others, and he wanted other people alongside with him. He wanted other people to have a good time. He wanted to make everybody feel important.
And that's how we all should be as human beings. We all should be that way. We should make the littlest person feel like they're the only person in the room.
Mm-hmm. And that's what Owen did.
But we forget. We forget. And we don't. And maybe we should take Owen's lesson to heart.
Was that a play on his name?
No.
Well, it fit perfectly. And we lost Ness again.
He keeps coming back.
Yeah.
Stay, Ness, stay.
There you go.
No, it wasn't a play on his name at all. And
Okay.
I wasn't even thinking that.
Well, it went.
That actually
perfect.
worked out pretty well, actually. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was fitting of the conversation, to say the least.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we should.
But yeah, we definitely should do. We should try to do that at least as best as possible.
As best we
to our
can.
abilities,
Yeah.
'cause,
Because you never know.
Yeah.
We all want to be remembered as someone who did good things.
Absolutely.
And made people smile.
Of course.
Right. We
And
all
made
want to be
somebody
remembered
laugh.
for leaving a positive impact on somebody's life.
Right. We don't want to be remembered for all the negative things that we've done.
And for that reason, and for these reasons alone, I think that Martha Hart should just let go of this. Give other people who didn't have the chance to watch Owen, to know Owen, give them the ability, give them the outlet, give them that chance to recognize, to celebrate, to live what Owen lived through. To share the gifts and the lessons that he taught us through his out-of-the-ring nature and personality.
Why couldn't she be more like Dana Warrior?
Because, as I said earlier, I was one who didn't start watching wrestling until the end of 1999.
Mhm.
So this had already happened.
Like I said, why couldn't she be like Dana Warrior?
Mm-hmm.
Who wants the Warriors' legacy to live on? And she's not doing it for the money. She's not doing it for whatever. She's doing it because she wants to. And she wants us as...
how
she understands the
was,
impact.
The impact he had.
Yeah.
And ultimately, I feel as if though when people say that WWE is a crappy place, or is it this, is it that. It's not so much that. It's more of how shady of a character McMahon has a tendency of being.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. As a human being, he's shady.
Because in one hand, McMahon could shake your hand and he could be your best friend. And on the other regard, he could be a total jerk to people.
He could talk about you behind your back and you wouldn't even know it.
So.
And as we stated before, he has that typical authoritarian attitude.
Yes.
It's my way or the highway.
Yes.
You know, that's...
And I think it's all that money that he's got.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All that money and power that he has. That's what it'll do to you.
Yep.
It'll turn you into a authoritarian.
Yep.
Absolutely.
And you don't care about anybody else but yourself.
Yeah.
And
That's
your
correct.
image.
That's correct.
You know, when he cut that promo, what was it, 10 years ago?
10 years ago.
10 years ago, when he said...
Yeah.
Nobody says no to me. I'm Vince McMahon, damn it.
Yeah. That wasn't a gimmick.
No, it really wasn't. It's
That's really him.
It scares me.
Wow.
Like when he does promos about, oh, well, you're fired, or you're gonna be this, or you're gonna be that, or nobody da da da. That scares me. I don't even say what a great promo that is.
Speaking of getting fired, how long have you been watching wrestling, Crystal?
Since the early 90s, but I stopped watching it for a while because my dad wasn't there anymore, and that was kind of what we did.
Oh, okay. So I don't know if you remember this. Did you watch that one episode, the Christmas episode with Mick Foley of Raw?
Which one?
One where the Edge and Christian laid him out with the concerto, and then after that, Vince fired him.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you not feel the disgust for that?
Oh yeah. It just proves that because Vince has all this power and all this money, he feels like he can do whatever he wants.
This is the same guy who started a Kiss My Ass Club, where he would have people literally
jeez.
kiss his ass.
I know.
Literally.
I remember.
Oh, wow.
I know.
Oh, wow.
I thought it was the stupidest thing ever.
Yeah,
This is Vince McMahon. This is what he likes to do. He likes to flaunt his power around and make people do whatever the hell he wants them to do.
Well, he's the same guy that wanted Shane and Stephanie to involve themselves in an incest angle.
Yeah, like
What?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he wanted to put Shane and Stephanie in a
what?
story that involved incest.
Oh, what the heck?
You know what that makes me think of?
Yeah.
What if he wanted to do that to his kids or his grandkids?
Oh yeah, because Triple H is gonna have that.
Oh
no,
yeah, that's not going to happen.
But I'm just saying.
No, I'm sorry.
if he
Triple H will drop his ass.
No, I know.
Oh yeah.
But
Yeah,
I'm just
I bet he would.
saying because Vince McMahon even thought that way.
But I'm saying it's not gonna happen. Triple H is gonna
No.
drop his ass.
No, I know it's not going to happen. I realize that.
You're saying what if he thought about it? Yeah. Because
Yeah.
he does have a sick mind, clearly.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. No, it's not
No.
going to happen because of Triple H. But
Yeah.
what if he thought about it because he thought of the incest angle?
But you know, Vince, yeah, when it
Well-
comes to the Vince, there's he has no limits as to where to push the envelope.
He's a deranged person.
Well,
Yes.
nowadays, I don't even know what to call it nowadays.
Now I guess he just doesn't care anymore. I don't know.
No, he doesn't care. He does not care. But he'll start caring when WWE falls and nobody's coming. The money stops rolling in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. It's just incredible. Like to hear that soundbite of him being so damn pompous towards the lady asking him the question.
I can't believe that.
Disgusting.
It's disgusting.
But that's the same attitude he had in the documentary about the XFL when when they were questioning him about that. He felt highly offended.
Right.
That people would
Yeah, and it seemed as though he was about to, get into it and
like he legitimately said he wanted to punch Bob Costas in the face.
Yeah.
Like, bro, you tried to make a mockery out of a legitimate sport, and it backfired on you.
Right.
Pretty much.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
It really did backfire, like completely backfired on him.
It was a bigger failure than I had remembered.
It was a disaster all around.
Yikes.
Yeah.
I mean, okay, the first night was one thing. The second night, oh my lord, the second night. And I can't help but to think of this question. What would Owen be saying today if he were still around?
Wow, that's a good question. Yeah, one could only speculate.
Yep. Nobody knows because he's not here.
And the other question, in terms of, if you want to think about Owen in terms of his career, how many people would he have put over? How many people would he have made stars of?
A lot. He would be like, you know how Dusty was in NXT?
Mm-hmm.
I think Owen would be like that. Where he wanted the underdog to succeed so badly that he'd help them in any way that he could.
Yeah.
How many people... Go ahead.
It's the craziest thing, growing up watching the Attitude Era and watching all these controversial and out-of-line angles that the WWE put forth in front of us. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't until we got older that we realized just how wrong this stuff was.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like, what the hell what were we thinking at the time watching this stuff? But we weren't. We thought it was entertaining. We were young. We were like, hey, this is entertaining. This is pretty cool.
We were kids. We were teenagers. We thought that was really cool.
Yeah.
Well, I'm a little different. I still like going back and watching Taker or Duck Stephanie.
Oh, me. I think that's cool psychologically. I think that, like I said, I love those psychological.
But there are some angles like the whole Katie Vick thing. That's got to go.
Oh yeah. Yeah, good God. Yeah.
That's got to go.
And the whole angle where Vince McMahon was going to take on Shawn Michaels and God.
Yeah, no, that's got to go.
What?
I said, whoa.
That's got to go.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, you don't remember that?
No.
It was, I forget what pay-per-view it was, but yeah, it was on Raw, where he announced that, him and Shane McMahon were going to take on Shawn Michaels and his tag team partner, God. And you can imagine how he said it.
Nobody.
We're all like,
What?
What?
Nobody could take on God. I'm sorry.
I couldn't believe it. I said,
he's an idiot.
I said, huh? What happened here?
There was that gimmick that kind of snapped me back into reality, and then there was the whole Crime Time gimmick. I'm like, oh, this is not good at all.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
The two black guys who were thieves. Like, come
yes,
on,
who were
Stop.
thieves. Yes.
Stop. Come on.
I was like,
that's
really?
That's blatantly racist right there. Like,
it is.
Yeah, that's pretty racist right there.
It is. Yeah. I remember that. Oh man.
I'm like, oh gee.
I'm like,
that was a disaster.
Wow. That's crazy.
I remember changing channels whenever that would come on.
I'm just like,
oh
what?
Dang. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah, how very blatantly racist to have the two black guys play the gimmick of thieves who were selling stolen products.
Stolen, yeah.
Like what? Really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Then we saw women being put through tables. We saw,
Yes.
Wow.
You can't win against the McMahons. You nor anyone else in the world can beat the McMahons. You can't do it. You see? You may win a battle or two here and there, but you will never, ever win the war against the McMahons. And by the way, pal, that's exactly what you're in. You're in a war. And that war for you is going to continue because I'm going to get a lot better. My son Shane he's going to get over this emotional scarring, I'm telling you. In less than 4 weeks' time, at Backlash, there's going to be a tag team match, Sean. It's going to be you and your tag team partner, the good Lord Almighty. That's right, you and God versus me, Vincent Kennedy McMahon, and the product of my semen, my son Sherry.
I think he has snapped. There's so many things wrong with that.
I agree. I agree,
Can't even
Jerry.
begin to start with. Yeah. Then Jerry Lawler said it best right there.
I agree.
At the end there, he did snap like, "What the hell is wrong with this man?"
Well, you know where
I've
Vince
never
is
heard
going.
that before. I haven't.
Yeah.
heard that.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Oh wow.
That was. Yep. That really happened.
And that started, and then a year later, you know, what happens? The whole Benoit thing.
Yeah.
Yep.
Vince was
That's
playing
what
the
you
whole
get.
death
You want to
angle
challenge God, boy? That's what you get.
Yep. And you
He
know
was
what?
playing the whole death and resurrection angle, and then I'm like, oh
Resurrection.
no.
And
And Mo
then,
and I
you
kept
know-
saying, yo, what if something really,
What if something really does
and
happen?
a year later, it did.
And as long and behold, and within 10 days, the Sensational Sherry had passed, and then the Benoit.
Yeah, and when Sensational Sherry passed away, I that's when Ness and I really were like, oh no, he should just stop. And wrestlers in the locker room were even saying, yo, stop. Let's just rewrite everything. Let's forget this script. Stop before something really does happen.
And something did happen.
Like you got to walk that fine line, and clearly for Vince there is no line. He's like, there's nothing that's off limits. Like, and that's clearly that's been a problem. Because you know when he pulled the whole death stunt, this made the news, the mainstream news outlets covered this.
You know, you never, ever, ever mess or test with God. Because he'll get you back. And he'll get you back ugly.
Wow. Yeah. You know, after hearing that clip, wow, well, that was more absurd now than it sounded back then. I didn't even remember that part about the way he referred to Shane as the product of his semen.
That's a product
I forgot
of
about
his
that
semen.
part. I'm like, oh god, this was more absurd than I remember.
It's like him saying my spawn.
Well, I remember for that whole entire commercial break, I'm sitting there trying to piece together what I just seen and heard, and I'm just like, what just happened?
So that never happened, right? That match.
Of course it did.
It happened at Backlash, yeah.
Yeah, he even gave
it was basically,
he even gave God an entrance theme and everything.
Oh, I didn't see. Oh, wow.
No way.
I kid you not.
What was the entrance theme?
What was the entrance theme?
I'm gonna go search for it because since we're already on it, might as well.
Yeah, that part I didn't know that.
Yeah,
I didn't watch that pay-per-view.
Oh my!
So I didn't see that part. Oh
gosh.
shoot! Yeah, he really went all the way with this thing. Yeah. Like Vince was known for pushing the envelope and pushing the whole entire post office to say.
And this was way after the Attitude Era.
Yeah, it was. This was in 2008, 9.
Oh my gosh! It was 8.
I don't know.
Yeah,
oh, really?
2008.
Yeah. One of Shawn Michaels, or actually the only tag team partner Shawn Michaels is going to have here tonight. He is the, let's see how, he has many names. Let's try, he's the Holy Roller.
Oh, boy.
He's the hipster from heaven.
Oh my God.
He's the man upstairs. From the kingdom of heaven, please welcome God.
Wow. That wow.
Yeah.
Oh,
wow.
Right there, hold it, stop it. Stop the music. Oh, stop it. Now listen, God. We're not doing things your way tonight. We're doing things my way. This is not your house. This is mine. You call that an entrance? That's not an entrance. Tonight we're going to do it WWE style. Let's get down. Let's jiggy with it. Come on, God. Let's see what you got. Come on. Come on, God.
Did he say get jiggy with it?
McMahon wants God to get jiggy with it. Well, he didn't stop God.
Oh, you can tell JR's disgusted.
Oh, yeah.
Well, what the heck?
McMahon wants God to get jiggy with it. Well, he did stop God in his tracks right there.
Lord have mercy.
Someone call 911. Wait, JR, guys, coming this way.
Really, King? Really?
Really, King? Really?
I feel God in my life
Idiot.
all the time, but this is...
Hang on a second out
This
here.
is insanity.
Right.
Oh my God!
You heard what JR
I feel
said.
God in my life all the time, but this is...
Hang on a second out
This
here.
is insanity.
Right.
Right.
Yes, it is.
God,
Oh, he's
Among
in the ring,
other
he's in the
things.
let me just say this. What is it? Oh, he's behind me. The hell is that? He sneaked up behind me. God, come here. Go check him out.
He's asking the referee to check God.
No telling what God has up his sleeve. Now go check him out. Oh. I said go check him out. No, whoa, wait a minute. On second thought, you know what, God? Bring it. Bring it. Whatever you've got. I don't care what it is. Because tonight, there's no disqualification.
What?
There's no count out. This match is no holds barred.
Since when? When the hell that happened?
Praise be the name of Vincent Kennedy McMahon.
There you have it.
Well, there you go.
Oh,
here you go.
There you.
That's on him.
There you freaking have, and then a year, and then a year later, 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 Chris Benoit.
There's a lot more I could say, but
That's
that was.
Then a year later, Chris
one of the most
Benoit.
absurd things I've ever heard. Oh my God!
That's all I'm gonna say. Then a year later, Chris Benoit. That's all I'm gonna say.
I'm saying you don't want to test
Yeah.
God because he'll
I
get
didn't
you
say
back.
Oh, he
As I said
challenged
before, I
God,
didn't
and God
watch
dealt with
the pay-per-view. And
Listen, he challenged God, and God dealt with him. All right.
wow. What did he say?
Bring it.
That's what he said, right?
Oh, he brought it.
Oh, among other things.
By all means,
Yeah,
God
he
brought it.
Yeah.
God answered the challenge. All right.
God said, "All right, you want to test me? All right."
Did he say, "Praise be the name of Vincent Kennedy McMahon"?
Yeah, he
Yes,
said that.
he did say that. Oh, he did say that.
Wow. Wow. I wow. Whew. Wow.
Oh, I just realized y'all can't see me. I'm over here nodding my head like, yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I've done that too sometimes. Yeah. Force of habit, you know.
Yeah.
Wow. I have no words for that. Wow. That angle was more off the wall than I imagined because I didn't see that part because I didn't watch the pay-per-view. Holy wow!
Listen, and I'm gonna say this.
Wow.
I'm gonna say this. There are some situations in which I mind, but I don't mind when it comes to satire and things of that nature. If you get where I'm going with this,
yeah.
You know where you mind but you don't. That sort of awkward situation.
Right,
That's
I get what
one
you're
thing.
saying.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
one thing.
This was just
and
wow.
it's
This
one
was
thing
just
when you play,
blatantly-
and it's one thing if you play a character that's atheist, but not to that extreme. You know, if you wanted to give somebody, if you wanted to stick Sean in a story where somebody's challenging him and his Christianity, that's one thing. That's fine. You know, it's fine
Right.
if you have a character saying, "Oh yeah, well you represent your God. Well, you know, I represent otherwise, and I stand for all that's evil and dark," and that's fine.
No, but this right here was just a blatant mockery.
But not that. But not that.
Wow. There's nothing satirical about this at all. No.
Not that.
It was very distasteful, very, very...
And you know what's crazy? The crowd was even booing.
Yeah.
The crowd just felt so... It was just such an awkward and just like, oh my God kind of vibe.
And JR was just disgusted. Like,
I think everybody
so
was disgusted. Everybody, yeah. Like, wow, wow.
And King didn't help matters worth. You know, he was trying to make everything funny, as usual.
Yeah.
God bless you,
bless
King.
him.
God bless you, King.
Seriously.
He was really trying, but...
Yeah, he was.
Trying
he was.
So...
He tried to make
the
best of it.
He's all, shh, he's in the ring. God's coming this way. I mean... God bless you.
He tried to make the best of it, but man, that was just really bad. That was really
felt.
bad.
I know he felt awkward because he's a believer in Christ as we are, you know. So his way of dealing with it was trying to make light of it.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't blame him for that. Yeah.
Right.
JR was just like, ugh, like.
Yeah.
I mean, he was so disgusted by that.
Yeah, rightfully so, because that was very disgusting.
That was horrible.
Wow. Yeah, satire is one thing. This was just openly blasphemous. Just
it was a
mockery.
I was like, what the heck, man? Yeah.
Because it wasn't around that time where Sean had become a born again Christian.
Joey, come on in, Joey.
Hold on.
The heck?
I want to look for something here.
Wait a minute. What's happening?
What?
I want to look for the Joey Styles promo. I think I found it.
Thanks to the magic of live television, I'm going to show the whole world why for 7 years in ECW, I was the unscripted, uncensored, loose cannon of commentary.
I love Joey Styles. I must admit.
Go ahead, Joey.
6 months ago, WWE called me. I didn't call this company because I was looking for a job. I didn't need a job. WWE called me because they had humiliated and fired again Jim Ross. So I get JR's spot. And from week one, week after week, I've got an ongoing lecture about the differences in professional wrestling and sports entertainment. I'm not allowed to say pro wrestling. I'm not allowed to say wrestler. I have to say sports entertainment and refer to the wrestlers as superstars. I'm told to deliberately ignore the moves and the holds during the matches so I can tell stories. Well, ignoring the moves and the holds is damn insulting to the athletes, the wrestlers, not the entertainers, who leave their families 300 days a year to ply their craft in that ring.
Exactly.
There's the best part. Because I'm not a sports entertainment storyteller, I get pulled from WrestleMania. And the reason I'm given is because I don't sound like Jim Ross, who's the guy they fired in the first place. That makes sense, right?
Oh, yeah.
I swallow the bitter pill. I'm a company guy. I get bumped from WrestleMania. Then I get bumped from Backlash. I'm not good enough to call Backlash. In ECW, I called live pay-per-views on my own. Solo. No color commentators dragging me down. Wasn't done before me. Hasn't been done since. But I'm not good enough to call Backlash because I'm not a sports entertainment storyteller. Well, you know what? I am sick of sports entertainment. And most of all, I'm sick of you fans who actually buy into that crap. This sports entertainment circus.
I gotta say, I agree with that too.
Oh, yeah.
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 I never needed this job, and I don't want this job anymore. I quit.
I don't blame him.
He's absolutely right.
He's absolutely right.
Like, these guys are like, so these guys are out there, as he said, 300 days out of the year to work on their craft. They're athletes. They're not they're not entertainers. They're not circus monkeys. They're athletes.
Right. Yeah.
And in that promo, he further goes on to saying, talking about Vince McMahon's personality and his attributes and all that, and he even quoted how he mocks God, and he said it twice. He mocks God, people. He mocks God.
He's not making it up. It's out there, folks.
It's out there.
It's out there.
Yeah.
These are facts. These are the facts.
Yeah. And, yeah, exactly. I mean, I wasn't a big fan of WWE before, but I'm definitely not now. I can't watch anything that they do until something changes. I'd rather watch New Japan or anything, man. I don't know, man. I just can't support something like that. I really can't.
Well, it's a weird situation. It's a weird situation with WWE right now, because on the one hand, a lot of people do say, if it could only be somewhat WWE Attitude Era-esque, or WWF, should I say, which I would not have a problem with. Like I said, I did not have a problem with the Attitude Era at all.
Yeah, that wouldn't be bad.
In some weird way, a lot of these angles came after the Attitude Era.
Yes.
Yeah, which is weird when you think about it, because you would think they would have came during
the Attitude Era. Yeah.
But wow.
Attitude Era was all about smash mouth, in your face type of wrestling. Stone Cold Steve Austin and opening a can of whoop ass, and The Rock, and Undertaker just going crazy on people and doing these weird Ministry of Darkness type things, and it was all fine.
That was cool. Yep.
The hardcore matches and all this. It was a crazy environment, but a lot of the weird stuff came during the Ruthless Aggression era.
Mm-hmm.
Boy, keyword is ruthless, and boy, what we just...
Were they ruthless?
What we just played for you guys just now, or previously, that was ruthless. Beyond.
It was.
Now, this is the PG era, but the problem here is... Okay, there's restraints, there's restrictions, but you're also restricting your wrestlers from performing in the ring. That's a problem as well.
Yep.
And going back to what Ted DiBiase said, wrestling is simply supposed to be a battle between good and evil. You're the face, you're the heel. Battle it out. Your cause for fighting, you're the champion, I want your belt.
Right, as we mentioned yesterday, all the stories back in the Attitude Era were centered around the belt.
Yes.
Regardless of what belt it was, every belt was important.
And now it's not.
Now, Ness, with exceptions of you, because we had this talk earlier. To the rest of the panel here, what is the hottest thing in wrestling right now?
New Japan.
Besides that, what is the hottest thing in wrestling right now? Who's selling merchandise? Or what is selling merchandise? Got an answer? Anybody?
Besides
anything?
ROH and JPW?
Yeah, who's selling merchandise?
Nobody.
What do you mean nobody? Bullet Club.
Oh, well, yeah.
They're the hottest thing in wrestling right now.
Yep.
Didn't fans show up at a WWE event with Bullet Club shirts?
Yeah.
Yes.
And it still goes on, and it still happens,
It
and they
still goes
still
on.
they still chant "Too sweet" and "Be elite," the elite, the elite.
Yep.
Okay, that was a
There
lot.
you go. Yeah, I mean they're making a statement. The fans are the fans have spoken. The people have spoken. They are sick of the BS going on in WWE, and they have better options, and they are definitely going to jump on those better options.
Yeah.
Yep.
Exactly.
That's just the way it
That's
is.
for sure.
Yeah.
I want to end this podcast off, but I with two things. I want to kind of touch upon Chris Jericho and his situation. He said that he's never coming back to WWE again. This whole idea of having a wrestling show on a cruise ship was going to come out entirely out of his pocket. He said that he was promised, first off, that they were on with him on the idea. But no sooner did they find out that he wanted to mix and match NXT personnel with Ring of Honor personnel, that's when they shot the idea down. Just because.
Right. Wow.
Wow.
Which makes no sense from the standpoint.
No.
Two things. One, Jericho was going to finance this. Two, they would have all made money off of this.
Yes.
Exactly.
Which is essentially the bottom line. Which is eventually the ultimate goal here, right? Is that's why they do this, right?
But it was coming out of his pocket.
His pocket.
Right. Vince didn't have to spend a dime on this, and he was going to make money off of this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
But no.
But because it wasn't his idea, he's like, nah.
And that's what it comes down to. Because it wasn't...
Yeah.
Vince's idea.
Again, we go back to the authoritarian mentality.
Incredible. And my other point is, I just want to say once again, going back to the original reason for this cast, as somebody who did grow up and has been watching wrestling for God knows how long, someone who watched Owen Hart's career, and somebody who's heard the stories, and somebody who's also watched him wrestle live, I just want to give my absolute thank you, show my gratitude, and I don't like remembering you as the person who tragically fell to his death on that May 23rd night of 1999. But I love to remember you for the quality of wrestling that you showcased. I like to remember you for your promo work. I like to remember you for the funny stories that your brother Brett has of you, for the funny stories that other wrestling personnel have of you. I love to hear of you as a family man, as somebody who cared, as somebody who understood, somebody who always wanted to be there, somebody who always wanted people to smile, and somebody who always wanted someone, others, to have fun alongside with. For having such an amazing career, for being such an amazing person, for being a father, a husband, and a caring brother, a family man, and even a company man. There's not that many people that you can say that of. Owen, it's with the utmost sincerity that I say, even though I didn't know you personally, but for the entertainment and all those things that I just illustrated, honestly, thank you. And I really do hope to see you in the Hall of Fame someday. And I hope that you're having a hell of a time with all those other wrestlers who've passed on. Umaga, Yokozuna, Macho Man Randy Savage, The Ultimate Warrior, Rowdy Piper, Mr. Perfect Kurt Hennig, amongst others. remember, folks, life is short.
Eddie Guerrero.
Oh, yes. How can I forget Eddie? What a comedy act that must. What a comedy act that. What a comedy act that must be, right?
Yeah, buddy.
What a comedy act that must be.
Oh man.
Remember,
Yes,
folks,
indeed.
life is precious and life is short and life should be valued.
Yes.
At least this life.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Oh,
For
yeah.
what it is while we're
Most
on here,
definitely.
you know, as noted yesterday, as crappy of a day as we may think we're having, at least we got to wake up to see another day.
That's right.
Yes.
And that
absolutely.
alone should be as big of a driving force as anything. Your rent is too high.
Man.
Your bills are too high. You feel lousy. So what? You got to wake up today.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Anybody else wanna say something before we close this cast off?
For those of you who are Ric Flair fans, the 30 for 30 is on tonight on ESPN. It's ESPN, right?
Yes, ESPN at 9.
10 p.m.
Is it 9? 10 p.m.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Eastern.
10 p.m. on
Eastern.
ESPN, Eastern time, yeah.
Yeah. 9 p.m. Central.
Central, yeah. On ESPN. Yeah.
Yes.
Nice.
Ness?
Well, this has been quite a learning experience to as someone who didn't get a chance to watch Owen Hart.
Yeah. Here,
You know, because as I said before, I came along after this happened, and and now to learn a little more about him was definitely insightful, impactful.
Yeah.
What
And
did
his
you
legacy
take from this?
definitely-
What did you learn?
Well, I learned that he was, he just loved life. And, being on the road for 300 days out of the year, throughout the year with those guys, and not being with your family, being away from your family for such a long time, traveling constantly, you make the best of it the best way you know how, and he was able to, and he did that.
Yep.
And
we can all learn
wrestling.
from that. That's
Yeah.
a great example of somebody, come on, he's away from his family, away from the people that he loves, and he still was able to put a smile on his face, and he still was able to concoct some sort of funny business and say, hey, you know what, I feel like playing a joke on this person. I feel like playing a prank on, and
Yeah,
and had a
exactly.
good time, made the best of his situation.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's definitely not easy to be away from your family for such a long period of time.
Yeah.
We have food that's put on the table. We have a roof over our heads. We have clothing. And I'm not saying that he didn't, but he was on the road. And he made the best of it.
He basically lived out of a suitcase.
Yep.
During that time that he was on the road.
Mhm.
He missed those precious moments watching his children grow up. Because he was on the road. And that's not easy. It's not easy to do.
And on his days off, I get the impression that he still was willing to be a father, a husband.
Yes.
Let's take something
Absolutely.
from this. Let's take something from the lesson that Owen Hart left behind. No matter the odds. When you have family and a support system, and you have God in your life, or some sort of belief system, take that at face value for what it is.
As I've stated before, the most valuable things in life are the ones that have no price tag.
Nope.
No name brand label.
Nope.
Absolutely. Does anybody want to usher us out?
I'll do it.
Go ahead, yeah.
Thank you guys so much for tuning in to this awesome podcast, and we hope to see you guys again soon. Don't forget to subscribe and tell your friends and family about this crazy thing you found called ENT Hooligans. And have fun and leave us comments. You know, you didn't like something, you liked something, you loved something, you didn't love something. Do that. And let's get out of here, y'all.
And of course, most of all, God bless y'all.
Amen to that.
Till next time, folks. Later. Peace. Don't click on that other channel. Hey, don't click on that other channel. They're bad. We're good.
Yeah.
Do not, hey. Put that cursor back where it was. No. Close that window. You close that window. Hey, you on the phone. That's right, you. Yeah. Close that.
I'm talking to you.
Don't. Hey, leave us. Hey, the bell. Hit the bell. Get out of here.